Look who's in the garden.
Oh, hi. I've just been picking some Sweet 100s.
Oh.
These don't make it inside. I just eat them in the garden. Oh. What are these tomatoes? There's some Sweet 100s down there. We've been having to water. It's been really hot and dry for the last month or so, I don't know. So, Jackie wanted me to show you this mound, Sewell mound. This area from there, about where that marigold is, it's kind of tapering off. Down across the top here, we got these two yellow squash, and there's another marigold there. This was a brush pile. So, we were tending to other things, and we had a pile of brush here. Where did we? No, that's not right. We had a pile of dirt over here because we dug out some stuff for the tomatoes. We dug these trenches and put wood chips and brush and leaves in the bottom, and then some dirt back in the top, so we had a lot of dirt left over. So we had a pile of dirt, we need to get rid of it. So we took some brush from our compost pile, which is more like compost material storage pile right now, and we piled it up right along the fence here in the shape of this mound. And then I shoveled that dirt on top of it and kind of walked on it and packed it down, sealed around the edges. And so we planted stuff on it. And then when it started getting really hot and dry, I tried to water it and everything ran off. And I made a little divot, a little pond, and tried to fill that, did that for a few days. And then finally I said to myself, what is wrong with you? Why, you know that there's this reservoir underneath. Why don't you just punch down in there? So I just poked this hole right there. It's got this stuff in it because I dumped some liquefied compost in there, and so this debris came in there. So there's just a hole down into the ground, and down about there is wood. There's pieces of wood there, and there's dirt mixed in with it some. But I just had the hose down in there for 20 minutes, and it's filled that whole reservoir and saturated everything down in there. And so I undoubtedly, from my previous research, I'd say, experimenting, whatever, that these plants have roots down into that bottom area, and it should be nice and wet right now. Now, we have had some issues with these things. You can see right here, there's a little bit of powdery mildew is starting to form. See that mark right there? That's a fungal problem. There's some eggs laid there from some insect, which I should know what those are, but I don't. Anyway, I don't want those on there. Okay, so that's what that is. We got a little bit of yellow in here. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah, that might be, it's kind of extreme here, but you see these kind of dead white spots? I sprayed this with a really mild solution of copper sulfate, and it took care of the mold. In the past, what's happened is it's just those leaves haven't made it at all, but new ones have come, and that copper sulfate's been absorbed systemically. Copper is an antifungal that it can use as a nutrient and seems to do better, and that seems to work pretty well. I am not maybe diligent enough about spraying them often enough. But this yellow, see, this one's dying. It's an old leaf and it's been stressed quite a bit. Maybe partly water stress. See this one over here, that's really bad on the fungal. I need to spray it just to get rid of the fungus. But then down here, see, we've got new leaves. This is the growing tip down here. See, there's this little one, this one. There's a pretty small squash. There's one, there's one. There's a little tiny one right there. It's just starting. So they're still working all right. We had vine borers, and actually killed half of this thing. See right here, this one drilled right through it, and the thing shriveled up and died eventually. And this half is still okay. And I think it's actually bored in this side too, but it's managed to heal. And so I don't know what to tell you about how to deal with those things. Squash is one of the things I have had less success with than a lot of other things. So we're happy that we've gotten some squash and that they're here and they're alive. The tomatoes, on the other hand, did you see these tomatoes? Look how happy these tomatoes are. We've done more experimenting with tomatoes than any other crop, so we know more about how to make them live. I mean, just pan through there and look at all those tomatoes on there. I picked an armful of tomatoes today. I probably picked, 12, 14 tomatoes?
Yes.
And same thing yesterday. I've got my timer going, if you heard that. because I've got my garden hose. If you look down here, I just have this hose just running off into the ground. Look at that. And it's been going for 10 minutes. And there's a trench in this below this whole row of tomatoes, and that's just running down into the ground underneath where there's the brush and leaves and stuff. So there's kind of a cavity down there. Then all that water just runs down in there. And I've not run the hose long enough to have it actually run out. Although this one's on a slope, I'm kind of on the, I thought kind of the middle, but it's running down there, but I'm afraid it's not going to get all the way here, so I think I'm going to move this hose down to this end of the trench. I've already watered them from my compost barrel. I've given them some fertilizer water, but we'll go ahead and, that's not enough for watering really. I gave them, this row I think got 10 gallons or 8 gallons. I think it was a 5-gallon bucket that wasn't full. These, I don't know, 1 or 2 buckets for each row. Then your barrel gets empty and you got to fill it up again and stir it around, and you might have enough to use it again, or it might be too weak. Then you got to go collect a bunch of weeds and stuff in there and let it marinate. So there you have it. These strawberries have been neglected. We just haven't been watering everything as much as you'd need to have everything be happy. These are a day neutral strawberry that should be bearing all summer, but
Look, there's one right there.
yeah, oh, you found one. Yeah, the crop is really sparse. I mean, there's some flowers in there. I did water them a little bit the other day, but if we watered them enough for them to just really be green and luxuriant, we'd have big, juicy strawberries right now.
It's been very dry.
We ate a bunch of strawberries until we almost got tired of them, and then which is amazing. And then when the tomatoes started coming on, it's like, let's water the tomatoes. We can ignore the strawberries for a little while. As long as they don't die, we don't have to eat strawberries right now. Look at the tomatoes. The sad thing this year is the cucumbers. We planted so many tomatoes in these trenches this year, and we're getting such nice yield. Look, just zoom in on that pile of green ones like that. Just look at that cluster of them right there. And that cluster right below and above, there's a cluster right there, and oh, look, over there. Oh, well, anyway, we could do that for an hour. They're just everywhere. There's a big mass of them down somewhere down there on one of these stems. There were so big, a huge glob of them together. So anyway, they seem to be happy with this particular technique. I'm hoping that it's not a fluke and we've actually learned enough that we can duplicate this next year. Our carrots were doing real good. We were eating a bunch of those, but now they're so dry, I don't think I can pull one up without a spade or something. We've had some groundhog eating a lot of the tops off of them. I did clear along the fence and turn the power back onto it. I don't know if that's enough. We saw the groundhog in the chicken pen after I turned it on. It's like, did it even feel the fence? I don't know. But those flowers are now doing their thing. We're hoping to get some carrot seeds. He ate nearly all the flowers off. We have not mastered the animal issues. But look at that. This is a mullein. This grows wild around here, and this one's a volunteer. Now when we saw it, we said, hot dog, we don't have to go out in the woods and dig some up and bring them back to our garden.
And we even bought 2 plants this year and planted them because we wanted some.
Yeah, that was easier than going and digging them up. And then what do you know? We got a wild one. So we like that. Those things will get tall, but probably not this year. So there you have it. Water is good. And having a reservoir below the surface to catch it is convenient. Boy, sometimes I've gone for a week without watering these tomatoes and they seem to just be going good, but I just thought today, boy, it's been a while since I watered them. I really don't want to stop getting tomatoes with all this success just because I neglect them for a little while. So I've been out here running a bunch of water into them, and then also fertilizer, the compost tea, weed tea, liquid manure, people call it whatever, lots of things. So I put a couple buckets of that on each row, or 1 or 2, whatever it was, and hopefully that'll be enough to get them for a little while. And I need to trim some more weeds off my fence and stuff them in there and be ready to do it again. All right, well, thanks.